You are already close to sleep when this begins, not fully drifting, not fully awake, resting in that gentle space where thoughts loosen their grip and the night feels wide and forgiving. Your body settles where it is. The air feels warm enough. The room holds still. You notice your breathing first. In and out. Nothing fancy. Nothing forced. Just breath doing what breath has always done, long before you ever paid attention to it. Somewhere behind your closed eyes, a darkness opens, not empty, just quiet, like a room with the lights turned low on purpose. And in the center of that darkness, you imagine a small flame. It is not dramatic. It does not flicker wildly or reach upward. It simply exists, steady and calm, a point of warm light floating without effort. It does not burn anything. It does not ask for fuel. It waits. This flame is curiosity. Not the restless kind that taps its foot and demands answers, but the gentle kind that sits beside you and keeps you company. The kind that knows there is time. Plenty of time. You breathe in slowly through your nose, and the flame brightens just a little, as if acknowledging you. You breathe out longer than you breathed in, and the flame softens, settling back into itself. It feels friendly. Almost polite. Tonight, nothing explodes. Nothing rushes forward. Nothing surprises you in sharp or sudden ways. Even the word that floats into your awareness, the one that sometimes carries sharp edges, arrives quietly. Antimatter. It does not shout. It does not crackle. It simply stands there, beside matter, like a reflection you notice only when the light is right. You may have heard the louder stories before. Stories filled with flashes and warnings and exaggerated urgency. Your flame does not care much for those stories. It prefers quieter truths. Antimatter, at its most basic, is not a monster hiding in the dark. It is not an enemy waiting to be unleashed. It is a mirror. You imagine holding up a candle in front of a calm, dark window. The flame appears once. Then again. Same shape. Same glow. Opposite side. Matter and antimatter are like that. Twins made of light and rules, born from the same deep logic of the universe, leaning gently in opposite directions. One is not better. One is not worse. They simply complete the symmetry, like left and right hands, like inhale and exhale. Your breath becomes part of the lesson without trying. In. Out. Balance happens naturally when nothing interferes. The flame floats closer now, or maybe you drift toward it. It is hard to tell, and it does not matter. There is no collision here, no dramatic meeting, just proximity, warmth shared without contact. You smile a little, because it feels almost funny how serious humans can become about things that are, at their core, so quiet. The universe invents antimatter, and we respond with raised voices. The flame seems amused by this. Just a touch. As if it knows patience will eventually win. You feel the warmth of the flame on your hands, even though you are not holding anything. It is the imagined warmth of understanding, the kind that spreads slowly, without sparks. Your shoulders drop a fraction. Your jaw unclenches. Your thoughts stop lining up in sharp rows. Antimatter does not demand attention. It exists whether you are watching or not. It is part of the universe's habit of making pairs, of balancing every step with a counter-step, every presence with a reflection. You think about how often fear arrives when something is unfamiliar, and how often that fear dissolves when you sit with the idea long enough. The flame seems to nod, if a flame can nod. It has seen this pattern before. Many times. You breathe in again, slow and gentle, and the flame grows just enough to notice. You breathe out longer, and it settles lower, closer to rest. Your body follows along, muscles softening, heartbeat easing into a quieter rhythm. There is no math here tonight. No scales or measurements. No sharp edges of precision. Just concepts, floating like embers in still air, easy to look at, easy to let drift past if you choose. Antimatter is simply matter's quiet reflection. A companion rather than a threat. A reminder that the universe enjoys balance more than drama. The flame drifts slightly to one side, and for a moment you imagine another flame beside it, identical and opposite, leaning in a different direction. They do not rush together. They wait. They always wait. You feel safe enough to keep watching. Safe enough to stay curious. Safe enough to rest. Your breathing becomes the slowest thing in the room, and maybe the room adjusts itself around you. Walls feel less solid. The night feels closer, like a blanket rather than a void. The flame remains at the edge of your awareness, steady and warm, not asking you to solve anything, not insisting you stay awake. It is content to glow while you drift. Soon, you sense that this is only the beginning, that the reflection will deepen, that the quiet symmetry will reveal itself more clearly if you move just a little closer. You inhale gently through your nose, slow and unhurried. The flame steadies. You exhale longer, letting the air leave without effort. The darkness feels softer now. Somewhere nearby, matter waits. Somewhere just beside it, its reflection waits too. And you, carried by breath and warmth, drift closer, ready to see how the twin flames lean toward one another, without sound, without urgency, as the night opens the door to the next thought. You arrive here gently, carried forward by the same breath that steadied you before, the same small flame still glowing behind your closed eyes, patient and warm. Nothing has ended. Nothing has begun abruptly. The night simply opens a little wider. The flame you have been watching remains where it is, steady and kind, but now you notice something else. A second glow appears nearby, not crashing into view, not demanding attention, just quietly present, as if it has always been there and you are only now relaxed enough to see it. This second flame looks familiar. Very familiar. It holds the same shape, the same softness, the same gentle warmth. And yet, it leans the opposite way, like a reflection in dark glass. You do not feel startled by this. You feel curious in the slow, comfortable sense of the word. The kind of curiosity that stretches rather than tightens. Matter and antimatter stand like this. Not facing off. Not preparing for impact. Simply existing together, symmetrical and calm, born from the same quiet rules that guide stars, dust, and breath. You imagine holding a candle near a mirror in a dim room. The flame appears once in your hand. And once again, just beyond the glass. Both flames feel real. Both offer warmth to the eyes, even though only one warms the air. The universe, it seems, enjoys this kind of balance. It prefers pairs. It prefers echoes. It prefers having something to answer itself. You breathe in slowly, and the space between the two flames feels charged, not with danger, but with anticipation that never rushes. You breathe out, longer, and the space relaxes again, like shoulders dropping after a long day. Antimatter is not matter's enemy. It is matter's quiet reply. A yes following a question that was never spoken aloud. Each particle of matter carries its mirror within the rules of existence, as if the universe refuses to commit to a single direction without offering another. Left invites right. Forward implies backward. Presence hums alongside absence. You feel the symmetry in your own body if you pause long enough. 2 hands. 2 lungs. 2 sides of a face resting into a pillow. Balance does not require effort. It simply happens when you stop interfering. The 2 flames drift closer together now, not pulled by force, not pushed by urgency, but guided by the gentle logic of sameness and difference. They do not touch. They wait. You notice how calm this waiting feels. No ticking clock. No countdown. Just potential held softly, like a thought you do not need to finish. Somewhere in your mind, old stories try to stir, the louder ones that speak of instant disappearance and dramatic endings. But those stories feel distant here, muffled by the quiet. The flames do not seem interested in performing. Instead, they glow. They share warmth without merging. They demonstrate patience simply by existing side by side. You smile faintly at the idea that the universe builds such elegant symmetry and then watches humans argue about it. The flames seem to share the joke. Not laughing. Just glowing a little brighter, as if amused by how much effort is spent worrying. You breathe again. In through your nose, slow and smooth. Out through your mouth, even slower. The twin flames sway almost imperceptibly, like dancers who know the music well enough not to count. Antimatter mirrors matter in charge and behavior, in rules and responses, yet remains distinct, like handwriting written with the opposite hand. Same intention. Different motion. This difference matters, but it does not threaten. It completes the picture rather than tearing it apart. You feel reassured by this. Opposites do not have to fight. They can cooperate simply by respecting the space between them. The darkness around the flames feels softer now, no longer empty but full of quiet structure, as if the night itself is built from reflections layered gently on one another. Light answers light. Silence answers sound. You notice the warmth spreading in your chest, not heat, just comfort, like sitting near a hearth that does not crackle or spit. Your thoughts slow further, stretching into longer shapes, drifting instead of marching. The 2 flames draw a little closer again, enough for their light to overlap, creating a shared glow between them. It is neither one flame nor the other. It is something balanced. Something shared. You sense that when matter and antimatter meet, their interaction is not a battle but a release, a transformation that turns structure into energy, like 2 notes resolving into a chord. There is no anger in it. No drama. Just completion. The universe seems very comfortable with endings that are also beginnings, with exchanges that leave warmth behind. You feel yourself learning this without effort, simply by watching. Your breathing becomes so smooth it nearly disappears from notice. In. Out. The flames continue their quiet conversation, saying everything without words. You feel safe enough to stay here. Safe enough to keep looking. Safe enough to let the symmetry sink in. As the night deepens, the two flames hover closer than before, their edges brushing, their shared light softening the dark even further. You sense that their meeting will matter, not in a loud way, but in a gentle one, turning balance into motion, reflection into release. You exhale slowly, completely, and the flames lean toward one another, patient and calm, inviting you to follow as their quiet warmth begins to transform, opening the way toward understanding energy itself, waiting just beyond the soft merging glow. You remain where you are, carried forward by the quiet meeting of the twin flames, their shared glow still lingering in the dark like warmth that stays in a room after a candle is blown out. Nothing feels finished. Nothing feels urgent. The night continues to hold you gently. Your breathing settles into a rhythm that feels almost automatic now. In. Out. Each breath arrives without being summoned, like energy itself, appearing when conditions are right, not when demanded. The glow before you changes slightly. Not brighter. Not dimmer. Just different. Less like two flames leaning toward one another, and more like a single, steady warmth spreading outward. This is energy. Not the sharp kind that startles. Not the noisy kind that rattles walls. This is energy as a release, a letting go, a soft unfolding of what was held. You imagine holding something gently in your hands for a long time. A smooth stone. A warm cup. Eventually, without effort, your fingers relax, and the warmth spreads into your palms. Nothing breaks. Nothing snaps. It simply transfers. When matter and its reflection meet, the universe does something similar. Structure loosens. Boundaries soften. What was once held as form becomes motion, light, warmth. You notice how calm this idea feels when no one rushes it. Energy does not have to be violent to be meaningful. It does not need sparks or shockwaves to be real. You breathe in slowly, and the warmth seems to respond, spreading just a little farther, like heat traveling through a blanket. You breathe out longer, and the warmth settles, content to remain. Humans have learned many ways to release energy. Some are quick and crackling, like dry wood snapping in a fire. Some are slower, deeper, like embers glowing long after the flames have passed. And some, like the meeting of matter and antimatter, are almost pure in their quietness, turning nearly everything they touch into gentle motion and light. The flame metaphor shifts here, becoming less about fire and more about glow. Not the flickering kind. The steady kind that does not demand attention. You feel a faint smile tug at the corners of your mouth as you realize how often the loudest descriptions win, even when the truth is softer. Energy, in reality, seems to prefer subtlety. It enjoys efficiency. It enjoys doing a lot while appearing to do very little. Your body understands this instinctively. Your heart beats without fanfare. Your lungs exchange air without applause. Energy flows constantly, quietly, keeping you here without asking to be noticed. The warmth before you pulses gently, not in time, not in rhythm, just in a way that feels alive but unhurried. You imagine it as a long burning flame that never flares, a light that could last through a very long night without changing its tone. This is why antimatter captures attention, even when discussed softly. Not because it promises drama, but because it whispers of efficiency, of a release so complete that very little is left behind. It is the opposite of waste. It is almost elegant. You rest with this idea, letting it sink in slowly, like warmth moving deeper into muscles that no longer resist. Power does not require force. It can arrive as ease. You breathe in again. In. The warmth expands slightly. You breathe out. Out. It settles, content. Somewhere in the distance of your thoughts, you picture other kinds of fire. The kind that needs constant feeding. The kind that leaves ash. The kind that demands attention or else it fades. They all have their place. They all tell part of the story. But this glow tells a quieter one. A story about release without residue, about transformation that leaves light rather than debris. You notice how the idea of annihilation, when stripped of its sharp edges, becomes something almost comforting. Two forms meeting. Both letting go. Neither clinging to shape. The result is not nothingness, but movement, warmth, illumination. It feels less like destruction and more like completion. You feel reassured by this framing, as if something heavy has been set down without needing to be named. The universe does not seem reckless here. It seems thoughtful, deliberate, calm. Your breathing continues to guide you deeper into rest. Each inhale gathers the idea. Each exhale releases tension you did not realize you were holding. The glow before you lowers slightly, like a flame settling as fuel is used efficiently, without waste, without hurry. It does not threaten to go out. It simply rests at a quieter level. You sense that this kind of energy, if guided carefully, could move things gently but persistently. Not with thrusts or jolts, but with a steady push, like a tide that never stops arriving. The thought feels almost cozy. Motion without drama. Progress without strain. You chuckle softly to yourself, barely enough to register, at how soothing it feels to imagine advanced science behaving politely. No explosions. No shouting. Just a calm exchange of forms, like neighbors passing warmth back and forth on a cold night. Your shoulders sink deeper. Your jaw relaxes again. The glow remains, patient and dependable. As you watch, the warmth begins to concentrate, not intensify, but focus, as if preparing to be held, to be guided rather than simply observed. You sense that the next question will not be about how much energy exists, but how gently it can be cradled. You take one more slow breath in through your nose. You let it out longer than before. The glow settles even lower, becoming quieter still. Somewhere just ahead, invisible fields are waiting, ready to hold this warmth without touching it, ready to show how care can shape power, as the night opens softly into the next thought, and you drift with it, unhurried and at ease. You drift forward slowly, carried by the warmth that has learned how to settle, the glow now calm enough to sit with rather than watch from a distance. Nothing urges you closer, nothing pulls you back, you move only because it feels natural. Your breathing stays smooth and steady. In and out, the rhythm feels familiar now, like a song you forgot you knew. The flame remains before you, quieter than before, no longer spreading, no longer changing shape. It waits, and in its waiting, it teaches something important. Some things are not meant to be touched directly, not because they are dangerous, but because they deserve care. You imagine reaching toward the flame and stopping just short, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Your hands relax, they hover, they trust another way. This is how antimatter is approached in the real world, not with grabbing or trapping, but with cradling, held without contact, guided without pressure. You picture invisible lines in the air, gentle and precise, shaping a space where the flame can float freely, like a lantern made of nothing but intention. The glow never touches its container, never burns the walls that hold it. The idea feels soothing, protection without confinement, control without force. You breathe in slowly, and the invisible cradle hums softly in response, a sound more felt than heard, like the quiet vibration of a resting machine. You breathe out longer, and the hum steadies, content. Magnetic fields work this way, though you do not need the details tonight. It is enough to know that some forces guide by suggestion rather than command, by shaping paths instead of blocking them. The flame seems comfortable in this arrangement. It does not struggle, it does not press outward, it floats, balanced, like a thought held gently in mind without squeezing. You feel a sense of reassurance settle into your chest. Progress does not always mean pushing harder, sometimes it means learning when not to touch. You think briefly about how many things in life respond better to space than pressure. Sleep, for one, it arrives when invited, not when demanded. The flame seems to appreciate the comparison. A small smile appears, because it feels slightly funny that something as powerful as antimatter prefers being treated like a delicate guest. No rough handling. No loud voices, just quiet respect. The invisible fields holding the flame feel warm in their own way, not hot, but alive, humming with intention. They remind you of arms wrapped loosely around something precious, holding without squeezing. Your shoulders soften further. Your body understands this lesson even if your mind drifts. Care, you realize, is a form of strength. Restraint is not weakness, it is skill. The universe seems to reward patience again and again, building its most intricate systems out of balance rather than force. Stars hold themselves together by gentle pulls, atoms dance without colliding into chaos, antimatter waits calmly in its invisible nest. You breathe in. The fields remain steady. You breathe out. Nothing changes abruptly, nothing needs to. The flame's glow reflects softly against the unseen boundaries around it, like light brushing glass that is not really there. It feels safe, contained, free. You sense that this is how humans learn to work with powerful ideas, not by dominating them, but by listening long enough to understand their nature. The flame does not want to escape. It wants to be understood. Your thoughts slow again, stretching into longer shapes, floating rather than forming sharp edges. The hum of the invisible cradle blends with the sound of your breath until they feel like the same thing. You notice how restful it is to imagine technology that behaves gently, that hums instead of roars, that waits instead of rushes. The flame seems pleased by this imagining. It glows just a touch warmer. There is a quiet trust forming here, trust that careful hands can hold bright things without harm, trust that knowledge can grow without burning. You chuckle softly, barely audible, at how comforting it feels to picture scientists as patient caretakers rather than frantic controllers. Slow adjustments, calm observation, lots of waiting. The flame continues to float, obedient not to command, but to balance. It responds to the invisible fields like a leaf responding to still air, remaining exactly where it needs to be. Your breathing deepens slightly, guided by the steady scene. In through the nose, out through the mouth, longer out than in. You sense that this careful holding is only the beginning, that once energy can be cradled safely, it can be guided gently, shaped into motion rather than spectacle. The invisible lantern lifts almost imperceptibly, not moving upward so much as becoming ready to move. The flame remains calm within it, trusting the space that holds it. You feel yourself lifting too, carried not by force, but by the idea that careful control makes movement possible, that patience opens doors speed cannot. You inhale softly as the lantern rises, you exhale slowly, letting yourself follow. Somewhere ahead, the darkness stretches open into distance, waiting for a glow that can travel without burning, waiting for light that knows how to move quietly, as you drift forward with the flame, steady and safe, into the next thought, already unfolding. You continue forward without effort, lifted by the same invisible care that held the flame moments ago, the lantern of fields still humming softly around it. Nothing jolts. Nothing pushes. You simply begin to move. Your breath leads the way. In. Out. Longer out than in, like a sigh that never quite finishes, like motion that prefers patience over speed. The darkness ahead opens not as emptiness, but as space willing to receive you. Wide. Quiet. Unbothered by how slowly you arrive. The flame stretches slightly, not growing brighter, just lengthening, as if learning a new posture. It reminds you of how a candle's glow looks when seen through moving air, drawn gently into a trail without losing its calm. This is where rockets begin to make sense. Not as engines of force, but as breaths given direction. You imagine a rocket not roaring, but exhaling. A long, controlled release of warmth and light, pushing softly against the dark, the way your breath presses against still air when you sigh. You smile faintly at how different this feels from the stories you grew up with. So much noise. So much urgency. And yet, here, motion feels almost polite. Rockets dream of light because light does not resist. It moves freely. It slips through space without friction or complaint. If motion could borrow that quality, it would feel like drifting rather than forcing. You breathe in slowly, and the flame responds by stretching its glow into a longer line. You breathe out, and the line steadies, becoming smooth, unbroken, calm. Antimatter, when imagined as propulsion, fits this dream well. Not because it is dramatic, but because it releases energy so completely that very little is wasted on noise or heat that goes nowhere. Nearly everything becomes motion. Quiet motion. You rest with this idea, letting it settle into your body the way warmth settles into a blanket. The concept of travel shifts from effort to endurance, from bursts to continuity. Your thoughts float to how exhausting it feels to start and stop repeatedly. How soothing it is to move steadily instead. Your body knows this from walking, from rocking, from breathing. The flame continues to lengthen, becoming a gentle trail behind you, not tugging, not pushing, simply present, like a soft hand at your back. It does not shove you forward. It accompanies you. You notice the sensation of weightlessness creeping into your imagination. Not the thrill-seeking kind. The restful kind. The feeling of being supported everywhere at once. The darkness around you hums faintly now, a low sound without pitch, like the background noise of the universe itself, constant and reassuring. Your breath blends with it until it is hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. Rockets, you realize, are often described as overcoming gravity, as fighting their way free. But here, in this quieter framing, they feel more like negotiations. gentle agreements with space to allow passage. You chuckle softly at the idea of a rocket politely asking the universe for room to pass. No shouting. No slamming doors. Just a steady glow and a long exhale. The flame behind you remains steady, whispering rather than roaring. It does not flare. It does not flicker. It behaves like light that has learned patience. You feel the motion continue without any sense of acceleration or strain. Just ongoing presence. Just continuity. This is why high-energy fuel matters, though you do not need measurements to understand it. Not for speed. For persistence. For the ability to keep going without interruption. Your breathing mirrors this perfectly. In. Out. In. Out. No rush. No pause long enough to become a stop. Distance, when approached this way, loses its sharpness. It becomes something you live inside rather than something you must conquer. The flame seems to understand this, stretching its trail into the dark as if to say there is plenty of time. You imagine long journeys measured not in milestones, but in rhythms. Sleep cycles. Waking moments. The gentle repetition of breath and glow. There is comfort in knowing that motion does not have to feel like leaving something behind. It can feel like carrying warmth with you. The flame remains close, its trail never thinning, never fading, just present enough to remind you that you are moving, even when nothing seems to change. You smile again, this time at how calm the future feels when imagined this way. No blaring alarms. No dramatic countdowns. Just a quiet decision to drift forward. Your shoulders sink further. Your thoughts slow until they stretch like long shadows in evening light. The hum continues, steady and low. You sense that this kind of propulsion would feel almost boring to watch. No flashes. No spectacle. Just a small glow and a lot of patience. The flame seems proud of this. Boredom, after all, is often another word for stability. You breathe in slowly, following the length of the glowing trail. You breathe out, letting your body sink deeper into rest as motion continues effortlessly. The flame elongates a little more, becoming not just a source of movement, but a companion, a constant behind you, reminding you that you are never pushing alone. As the darkness ahead deepens, it no longer feels empty. It feels like distance waiting to be crossed gently, like a long night that does not mind how slowly morning arrives. Your breath remains long and smooth. The glow remains steady. Somewhere far ahead, stars wait like faint embers, barely visible, unconcerned with when you arrive. You drift toward them, carried by a flame that whispers instead of roars, by motion that feels like rest, as the long night between lights begins to open, inviting you onward, softly, endlessly, into the next thought. You continue drifting, already in motion, though nothing in your body feels like it is moving at all. The flame remains behind you, steady and loyal, its glow unchanging, its presence constant enough to forget and comforting enough to remember again. Your breath stays slow. In. Out. The same rhythm carries you forward, the same rhythm that carried you through sleep so many nights before this one. Ahead of you stretches the long night between stars. Not a frightening night. Not a lonely one. Just a vast, quiet dark that has learned how to wait. The darkness here does not press in. It opens outward. It gives you room. You imagine space not as emptiness, but as a deep ocean at rest, still and wide, holding distance gently rather than separating things harshly. The flame behind you becomes a small lighthouse, not flashing, not calling attention to itself, simply remaining. Antimatter's promise feels different here. Less about power, more about endurance. This is energy that does not hurry to be used up. It does not flare brightly and vanish. It glows the way embers glow, quietly persistent, capable of lasting through very long nights without complaint. You breathe in slowly, and the darkness seems to breathe with you. You breathe out, longer, and the space accepts it, absorbing the motion without resistance. Travel between stars is not about speed in this imagining. It is about patience. About continuing when nothing changes for a very long time. You feel surprisingly calm with that idea. The absence of landmarks becomes soothing rather than unsettling. There is nothing to count. Nothing to measure. Only presence. The flame remains unchanged, and that sameness becomes comforting. You realize how tiring constant variation can be, how rest often comes from consistency rather than excitement. You picture distant stars as faint embers scattered far ahead, barely brighter than memory, unconcerned with how long it takes you to reach them. They are in no hurry. Neither are you. Your body understands endurance instinctively. It sleeps for hours without needing reassurance. It breathes all night without applause. It keeps going quietly, faithfully. Antimatter fits into this pattern more easily than the louder fuels you imagine. It offers the kind of energy that does not demand frequent attention, the kind that allows long stretches of sameness to remain safe. The flame behind you does not shrink. It does not flicker. It simply stays. You feel a sense of companionship in that steadiness, as if the light itself has agreed to keep watch while you rest. A small guardian. A patient friend. You chuckle softly at the thought that the most advanced journeys might feel more like waiting rooms than adventures. Comfortable. Quiet. Predictable. The flame seems to approve. The darkness deepens, but never sharpens. It stays smooth, like velvet or deep water, absorbing light gently without swallowing it whole. You notice how time stretches here, not dragging, just widening, like a long breath held comfortably without strain. Moments do not stack up. They drift. Your breathing becomes so slow it feels like part of the environment rather than something your body does. In. Out. Each breath feels sufficient. Antimatter's endurance means you do not need to check the flame constantly. You trust it to remain. Trust replaces vigilance. This trust eases something deep in you. The need to monitor. The need to hurry. The need to arrive. You are already where you are supposed to be. In motion. At rest. The stars ahead remain distant, and that distance feels almost kind. It allows the journey to exist without pressure, without deadlines. You imagine days passing without events, nights passing without change, the flame holding steady through all of it. No surprises. No emergencies. Just continuity. The universe seems well suited to this pace. It rarely rushes. It prefers slow processes that unfold over patience rather than force. You smile faintly at how small human impatience feels out here, softened by scale and quiet. The flame offers no judgment. It simply glows. Your shoulders sink deeper, as if gravity itself has become gentler. Your thoughts slow until they drift freely, no longer trying to form conclusions. You feel less like a traveler and more like a presence carried along, a warm awareness moving through a dark that does not mind being dark. The long night between stars becomes familiar, even welcoming. A place where nothing asks for attention. A place where rest and motion coexist. You breathe in again. In. The flame remains unchanged. You breathe out. Out. The darkness remains kind. You sense that this endurance is what makes deep journeys possible. Not bursts of effort, but long commitments to calm continuation. Antimatter, in this framing, is not dramatic fuel. It is reliable companionship, a glow that promises not excitement, but persistence. You realize how comforting that promise feels as sleep pulls you further inward. A light that stays. A motion that does not disturb rest. The stars ahead flicker faintly, like embers you will reach eventually, without effort, without struggle. There is no rush to arrive. Your breath remains slow and smooth, and the flame remains steady, and together they carry you through the long night between lights, through the quiet that stretches on without end, gently preparing you to notice the careful limits and delicate hands that make such journeys possible, waiting just ahead, as you drift onward, calm and unhurried. You remain in motion, yet everything about this moment feels slower, as if the journey itself has learned to speak more quietly. The flame behind you still glows, but it does not insist on brightness. It seems content to be small. Your breath mirrors the shift. In. Out. Soft and unremarkable, like something that does not need improvement. You begin to notice the edges of the glow more clearly now, not because it has weakened, but because it has defined itself. The flame knows its shape. It knows its limits. There is comfort in that. Antimatter, when imagined honestly, is not abundant or careless. It is rare, delicate. A substance that asks for patience simply by existing. You imagine it as a tiny ember cupped in careful hands, not hidden, not displayed, just held. The hands do not squeeze. They do not rush. They wait. Limits appear here not as barriers, but as boundaries drawn out of respect. The universe seems to appreciate this approach. It responds well to those who listen before acting. You breathe in slowly, and the flame remains steady. You breathe out longer, and it does not dim. It simply stays as it is. Human hands enter your thoughts now, not grasping or conquering, but measuring, adjusting, waiting. Hands that understand when to pause. Hands that accept that some things cannot be hurried. There is a quiet humility in this image. A recognition that not everything powerful must be large, and not everything meaningful must be easy to obtain. You feel reassured by this. The world does not expect perfection from you tonight. Only attention. The flame's smallness becomes a lesson rather than a disappointment. It reminds you that care scales better than force, that patience can extend what haste would destroy. You chuckle softly at how often humans equate size with importance. The flame does not seem offended. It has never tried to impress anyone. Antimatter is difficult to make, difficult to keep, difficult to handle, and that difficulty feels intentional now, like a built-in reminder to proceed slowly. The universe does not hand out its brightest tools without asking for responsibility in return. Your breathing stays calm. In. Out. The rhythm carries a sense of steadiness that feels earned. You imagine laboratories not as places of noise and urgency, but as quiet rooms filled with waiting. Instruments humming gently. People watching screens patiently. Moments passing without event. This slowness feels right. Appropriate. As if the flame itself has set the tempo. Limits do something important here. They teach listening. They encourage cooperation instead of dominance. You sense that antimatter's rarity is not a flaw, but a filter, allowing only careful curiosity to persist. Those who rush are discouraged. Those who wait are rewarded. The idea settles into you like warmth. Not everything needs to scale up. Some things are meant to remain small and precise. You think about how many meaningful moments in life are like this. Quiet conversations. Gentle touches. Thoughts shared softly rather than declared loudly. The flame glows steadily, unconcerned with comparison. It does not look at other fires and feel inadequate. It simply exists within its own boundaries. Your shoulders relax further as you let go of the idea that progress must always be fast or visible. Sometimes progress looks like restraint. Sometimes it looks like saying not yet. You breathe in again, slow and smooth. You breathe out, longer, and the flame seems to nod, if nodding were possible for light. Human hands, you realize, are learning tools. They adjust. They adapt. They learn when to hold and when to step back. This learning takes time, and time feels generous here, not scarce. The long night between stars has made room for patience. You smile faintly at the thought that the universe may be less impressed by ambition than by care. The flame offers no argument. Limits protect what matters. They keep delicate things intact. They preserve potential. Antimatter, held carefully, becomes not a temptation, but a responsibility, one that invites thoughtful stewardship rather than reckless use. You feel calmer knowing that such power demands gentleness by design. It means the universe has safeguards woven into its deepest rules. Your breathing deepens slightly, still slow, still steady. In. Out. Each breath feels like agreement rather than effort. The flame dims just a fraction, not fading, just resting, conserving itself. You recognize this instinct. You have done the same when tired. Rest does not mean failure. It means continuation will be possible later. You sense that these limits are not the end of the journey, but a necessary pause, a moment of adjustment before movement takes on new forms. The small flame remains, protected and patient, waiting for other kinds of fire to appear beside it, older and slower, ready to be compared, not judged, as you drift onward, breathing softly, into the next gentle thought. You drift onward gently, still breathing in the calm rhythm you have learned, still aware of the small flame resting nearby, patient within its limits. Nothing replaces it. Nothing overshadows it. Instead, other glows begin to appear. They arrive slowly, one by one, like hearts revealed as your eyes adjust to a dark room. Different shapes, different colors, each offering warmth in its own quiet way. You notice first an older fire, familiar and steady, the kind that crackles softly even when it tries to behave. It smells faintly of memory, of effort, of hands that have fed it again and again to keep it alive. This fire has carried humans far already. It is dependable, a little loud, a little hungry. It asks often to be refueled, like a guest who means well but eats everything in the pantry. You smile at it kindly. It has done its job. Nearby, another glow hums more deeply, slower and heavier, like warmth stored inside stone. It does not flicker. It radiates. Its presence feels serious, deliberate, built for long conversations rather than quick exchanges. This fire is patient, but demanding in its own way. It asks for structure, for shielding, for respect that is earned through discipline. You sense that each fire reflects the time that shaped it. None are wrong. None are complete on their own. Farther still, a softer light appears, barely a flame at all, more like a reflection caught on fabric. It does not burn anything. It does not consume. It simply accepts what already exists and moves with it. This fire feels almost lazy in the best sense of the word. It waits for light and then goes along for the ride. No fuel. No hurry. Just patience and openness. You breathe in slowly, taking them all in. In. You breathe out. Out. The different fires coexist without argument. The small antimatter flame remains among them, modest and precise, not trying to dominate the gathering. It does not claim superiority. It does not glow brighter out of pride. You feel relief in this. No single answer needs to replace all others. The universe rarely chooses only one way forward. Each fire has a rhythm, and those rhythms do not need to match. Some burn fast and fade. Some glow steadily for long stretches. Some barely burn at all, yet travel far. You imagine these fires as different heartbeats, none louder than the others, all contributing to a larger pulse that carries motion through space. Your shoulders soften as comparison loses its sharpness. There is no contest here. Only context. Antimatter's flame feels young beside the older fires, not immature, but early, still learning how it prefers to be held. It listens more than it speaks. You chuckle softly at the idea that even fuels might have personalities. Some energetic, some reserved, some content to reflect rather than produce. The gathering of flames feels almost communal, like neighbors sharing warmth without measuring whose fire burns brightest. There is enough heat for everyone. You realize how calming it is to imagine progress as addition rather than replacement. New ideas joining old ones instead of erasing them. Your breathing remains slow and even. In. Out. The warmth settles evenly across your awareness. Each fire tells a story about the conditions that birthed it. Scarcity, abundance, ingenuity, patience. None of these stories cancel the others. They layer. You feel comforted by this layered future. A future where different tools serve different journeys, where no single flame is expected to do everything. The antimatter flame seems especially at ease here, freed from expectation, allowed to exist as one option among many. Its small glow feels intentional, thoughtful. You notice how this eases pressure inside you as well. You do not need to be everything. You do not need to burn the brightest. Some paths call for steady embers. Some for long glows. Some for quiet reflections that move slowly but persistently. The fires do not rush to prove themselves. They simply remain available. You rest with this image, feeling the shared warmth without needing to choose. Choice can come later. Tonight is for understanding. The darkness around the fires feels gentler now, illuminated not by intensity, but by variety. Different glows soften different corners. You sense that the universe favors diversity in motion as much as diversity in form. Multiple solutions unfolding side by side. Your breath continues its calm loop. In. Out. Each cycle reinforces the sense of ease. The small antimatter flame flickers once, almost shyly, then steadies again, content to be present rather than prominent. You feel gratitude for older fires that carried the way this far, and curiosity for newer ones still learning their place. Both feel welcome. As the warmth deepens, the fires begin to blur slightly at the edges, their distinctions softening, their shared purpose becoming clearer. Movement does not belong to one flame alone. It belongs to all of them together. You breathe in gently, feeling their combined warmth. You breathe out slowly, letting it spread. Ahead, one flame will eventually guide you more closely than the others, not because it is better, but because it suits a particular journey. The antimatter glow remains nearby, waiting for that moment, while the other fires fade softly into the background, their warmth lingering even as their shapes dissolve. You drift forward, calm and unhurried, carrying the memory of many gentle fires, ready to imagine what it might feel like to ride one steadily through the dark, as the next thought opens like a quiet horizon before you. You are already moving when you notice the sensation, not because anything shifts suddenly, but because nothing resists you anymore. The flame remains behind, steady and familiar, its glow constant enough to fade into comfort, like a sound you only notice when it stops. Your breath stays slow. In. Out. The rhythm continues, unbroken, as if it has always been part of the journey. Riding the flame does not feel like acceleration. It feels like continuation. Like agreeing to keep going in the same gentle direction without asking how far remains. There is no jolt. No surge. No moment where you are pressed back or pulled forward. Motion arrives quietly, the way sleep arrives when the day has been long enough. You imagine the interior of a starship not as a cockpit filled with alarms, but as a calm room with soft light and a constant hum, low enough to blend with thought. Nothing flashes. Nothing demands attention. The flame behind you does its work invisibly. You do not feel heat. You do not hear effort. You simply feel carried. This is what steady propulsion feels like when power is gentle. A persistent push so smooth it becomes background. You breathe in, and the hum remains unchanged. You breathe out, longer, and the ship continues exactly as before. Days pass without ceremony in this imagining. Sleep arrives on schedule. Waking feels unhurried. Meals are eaten without wait, without rush. The flame does not care what time it is. It does not tire. It does not hurry you along. You find comfort in that reliability. There is something deeply soothing about knowing tomorrow will feel much like today. Outside, the darkness drifts past without landmarks. Inside, the light remains constant, like an always overcast afternoon that never threatens rain. You chuckle softly at how ordinary the extraordinary feels. Humans travel between stars, and it feels cozy. The flame seems pleased by this reaction. It was never trying to impress. You imagine looking out through a wide window at the distant scatter of stars, barely shifting from one moment to the next. There is no sensation of speed, only the knowledge of motion. Your body adapts quickly. Balance feels natural. Muscles rest rather than brace. This kind of travel allows for routines, gentle exercise, long conversations, silences that are not awkward. Antimatter propulsion, imagined this way, supports living rather than enduring. The journey itself becomes inhabitable. You breathe again. In. Out. The flame remains steady. There is no countdown in your mind. No arrival anxiety. Distance feels abstract, almost irrelevant. You notice how your thoughts wander more freely when nothing presses them forward. Creativity stretches out. Memories drift in and out without urgency. The hum of the ship blends with your breathing until the two feel synchronized, like the vessel itself has learned your rhythm. You smile at the idea that the most advanced propulsion might feel like the least eventful. No drama. Just persistence. The flame behind you whispers instead of roars, reminding you that progress does not need an audience. You imagine adjusting course slowly, gently, like turning a floating leaf with a fingertip. No sharp angles. No sudden corrections. The flame responds with patience, reshaping its guidance without complaint. There is a sense of trust here, mutual and calm. You trust the flame to keep going. The flame trusts you not to rush it. Your shoulders drop further, as if you have fully accepted that nothing needs to be done right now. Being carried is enough. Time stretches comfortably, like a lazy afternoon that does not need to become evening anytime soon. You chuckle again, quietly, at how little heroism is involved in this version of exploration. No clenched jaws. No dramatic speeches. Just a lot of waiting, done well. The flame seems to agree. Waiting, after all, is one of its specialties. You breathe in slowly, noticing how little changes. You breathe out, appreciating that nothing needs to. Outside, a faint star brightens imperceptibly over long stretches, not rushing to become anything else. Inside, you remain at ease. This is what riding the flame feels like. Not excitement, but assurance. Not intensity, but steadiness. You realize how kind this would be to the body, to the mind, to the small human systems that prefer predictability over surprise. The flame supports that kindness without asking for praise. You feel sleep tugging gently at your awareness, not because the journey is dull, but because it is safe enough to rest inside. Your breathing deepens slightly, still slow, still smooth. In. Out. The hum continues. The light remains constant. You sense that the future, approached this way, does not shout. It hums quietly, doing its work while you live your life inside it. There is no sense of loss in this calm. Only continuity. You feel gratitude for motion that does not disrupt rest, for power that does not demand vigilance. The flame remains behind you, unseen but trusted, carrying you forward through the dark without spectacle. As your eyes grow heavier, you realize that this steady ride is not the end of the story. It is a middle. A long, comfortable middle. Ahead, questions of choice and intention wait patiently, not pressing, not urgent, simply present. You breathe in once more, slow and gentle. You breathe out longer, letting your body sink into the rhythm completely. The flame steadies. The hum persists. And as you drift deeper into rest, carried by motion that feels like stillness, you sense the next thought approaching softly, asking not where you are going, but why, opening quietly into the idea of the flame humanity chooses to carry, waiting just beyond this calm, glowing ride. You remain suspended in the gentle rhythm of motion, carried not by force, but by the flame that follows quietly behind, glowing steadily without interruption. Nothing rattles. Nothing demands. The darkness itself feels attentive, waiting to see how you will act. Your breath remains long and even. In. Out. A rhythm as familiar as a lullaby, carrying thought and light in tandem. The flame invites reflection now. Not reflection filled with fear or doubt, but a soft awareness, the choices that shape power, the care that sustains it, the hands that guide it. You notice how human hands are never just instruments. They are companions to intention, shaping what the flame can become. The light responds gently to the attention it receives. This is the essence of responsibility. To guide without crushing. To hold without grasping. To move without pressing. The small glow before you mirrors patience, as if asking, "Will you be gentle?" Its radiance is not demanding. It does not flare to impress. It simply waits. You breathe in, and the light seems to deepen slightly in response. You breathe out, and the glow steadies, content with your attention. Antimatter, in this frame, is less a dangerous fuel and more a reflection of humanity's choices. Its energy will respond to the hands that cradle it, to the minds that respect its nature, to the hearts that understand its fragility. You imagine a lantern carried by thoughtful explorers. Not for spectacle. Not for speed. Simply a vessel of care, guiding motion, shaping progress quietly. The flame teaches that intention matters more than ambition. It does not care if it moves quickly or slowly. It only responds to the steadiness and care with which it is treated. Your shoulders relax further as this idea sinks in. Control is not dominance. Power is not ownership. Stewardship is warmth. You feel gratitude for the quiet lesson. The universe rewards patience and attention. The flame will obey when guided with kindness, not when forced. Your breath continues its soft loop. In. Out. Each inhale gathers reflection. Each exhale releases tension you did not realize you carried. You imagine human hands adjusting the invisible cradle that holds the flame. They do not grip. They do not yank. They guide slowly, subtly, without ever pressing. The lantern's light spreads across imagined faces, a warm, steady glow that reassures without overwhelming. It touches only what it is meant to, highlighting care rather than creating spectacle. You notice how comforting this image is. Science does not always have to shout. Engineering does not always have to impress. Sometimes, it simply exists in quiet service. The flame seems pleased by this thinking, its glow responding just enough to confirm understanding. It stretches faintly, not brighter, but longer, like a sigh shared in trust. You think about how curiosity has always carried humanity forward. Not the frantic kind. Not the impatient kind. But the steady, persistent curiosity that respects limits and values care. The flame mirrors that curiosity perfectly. It does not demand. It does not panic. It continues steadily, waiting for thoughtful hands to choose its path. You breathe in through your nose slowly, feeling warmth fill your chest. You breathe out longer, letting the calm expand outward. The room of your mind feels safe. No sudden noise. No looming danger. Just light and motion harmonizing. You notice that ethical choice and scientific understanding feel intertwined here. One cannot exist without the other. Kindness guides power as surely as knowledge explains it. The flame remains modest. It does not dominate the scene. It does not judge other fires. It simply glows for those who care enough to notice. Your thoughts slow as this realization settles. Every decision, no matter how small, carries weight. Not in pressure, but in effect. Not in drama, but in guidance. You feel a gentle pride in simply understanding this. No need to act yet. No need to prove yourself. Awareness alone carries its own quiet power. The light from the lantern spreads across imagined hands, and you see a pattern forming, patience shaping action, attention guiding energy, care holding potential safely. You breathe in again, slow and full. You breathe out longer, releasing worry. The flame settles even more firmly in its invisible cradle, like it trusts your presence. The universe seems generous here, offering space for mistakes to be small, for learning to be gradual, for guidance to be careful. You think about the potential of antimatter propulsion in this frame. Not as a weapon, not as a spectacle, but as a companion to thoughtful curiosity, a mirror reflecting how gently humans can handle the power they understand. The lantern glows softly on faces you imagine across time and space, sharing warmth with those who choose care. No one is excluded. No one is rushed. Each hand adds to the steadiness of the light. You feel that this is how exploration could be sustained. Through kindness. Through thoughtfulness. Through attention, not ambition. Your shoulders and back relax further. You feel your chest open slightly, making room for calm. The flame remains, as ever, steady behind you. You notice how much easier it is to rest when responsibility feels like warmth rather than weight. The flame teaches that lesson without speaking. It teaches by being. You smile faintly at the tiny humor of imagining the universe applauding careful scientists. Silent, patient applause. No noise. No fireworks. just recognition. The glow reminds you that stewardship is part of living alongside power. Every hand, every mind, every gentle choice adds to the stability of the flame. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out long. The light remains constant, your rhythm remains constant. The universe does not demand your mastery tonight. It only offers the lesson: care matters. The flame seems to bow slightly in acknowledgement, as if to say, I will follow, if you continue to guide me with thoughtfulness and attention. You feel gratitude for this partnership. You feel calm, steady, capable without strain. The lantern lowers gently, as if settling into your hands fully, not pressing forward, not demanding attention. Its glow reflects softly, warmly, reassuringly. You sense the next question arriving quietly, like a draft that moves without urgency. What will happen when the flame rests among the stars? You exhale slowly, feeling ready, knowing the answer will come gently, as all things do. The flame hums faintly, carrying its warmth forward, and you drift with it, patient, calm, and unhurried, into the next chapter, where rest and wonder meet under the quiet watch of distant light. You drift forward, carried by the same quiet rhythm that has accompanied you through many thoughts already. The flame is steady behind you, no longer needing constant attention. It's light enough to remind you that patience has been learned, that care has been given, and that motion can exist without effort. Your breath stays slow and even. In. Out. Each inhale gathers calm. Each exhale releases tension you did not realize you held. You notice the vastness around you, not as emptiness, but as a quiet cushion. The darkness feels welcoming. It absorbs nothing. It holds everything. The flame continues, unhurried, a small glow among countless possibilities. It does not need to blaze to be meaningful. It does not need your hands to prove its existence. You imagine letting it rest now, placing it gently among distant stars. Not tethered. Not hidden. Simply positioned with thoughtfulness, so its warmth continues to radiate quietly. The stars themselves do not seem to mind. They shine regardless of observation. They exist without demand. The flame fits perfectly among them. Your breath deepens slightly, calm and measured. In. Out. The rhythm blends seamlessly with the quiet of distant light. Antimatter, in this vision, does not need to be used to matter. Its existence alone, its potential carefully respected, carries meaning. The universe rewards thoughtful placement, not frantic motion. You feel gratitude for this understanding. For the quiet lesson that intention can hold significance even when action is minimal. The glow spreads across imagined surfaces, reflecting softly on invisible contours. It touches nothing forcefully, disturbs nothing. It simply is. You sense that letting the flame rest is an act of care as much as any motion you have imagined. It is the acknowledgement that some energy is meant to wait, to be conserved, to shine on its own terms. Your shoulders release further. Your back relaxes completely. The chest softens. The body matches the calm of the mind. You imagine distant observers, not humans necessarily, but minds that might one day encounter this glow. They would see only steady light, quiet warmth, not spectacle. Not rush. Only presence. This is what stewardship feels like, the decision to let something remain whole, even while it waits. The flame itself seems to breathe now, if light could be said to breathe. A slight shimmer. A gentle elongation. A tiny acknowledgement that you are done handling it for tonight. You breathe in, noticing the small movement. You breathe out, letting it settle. Time here feels expansive. It stretches without urgency. Moments drift like slow comets, unhurried, steady. You feel the warmth in your chest mirror the warmth of the lantern. Not because of need, but because of reflection. Energy responds to care. The distant stars twinkle faintly, patient companions to the flame. The universe feels generous, offering space for rest as well as motion, for light to exist without demand, for curiosity to be enough. You imagine the quiet of this space as something tangible. A soft current, a gentle weightlessness, a cosmic hush that embraces everything. Your mind drifts with it. You notice thoughts of earlier journeys, the careful cradling, the long ride, the steady trails of light, and allow them to merge into the present calm. The flame is small, modest, unassuming. Yet it holds everything it represents: care, patience, energy, curiosity. It does not diminish. It does not need to. You feel your body aligning with this insight. Muscles relax. Mind softens. The rhythm of breath becomes a cradle of its own. You notice a slight smile forming, gentle and private. Sleep feels near, not rushed, not surprising, but invited by the continuity you have cultivated. The flame flickers once, almost shyly, then steadies again. You recognize its trust. You have done enough. You have guided gently. You have understood patience. You breathe in one more long, slow inhale. You breathe out fully, letting all remaining tension leave your body. The flame remains, unbroken, quiet, unwavering. There is no need for further action tonight. No calculations. No judgments. No urgency. Only rest. The stars beyond twinkle faintly, like embers you will not touch but whose light will accompany you through your dreams. The flame's glow settles among them, a gentle companion to cosmic patience. You sense that your journey through understanding does not end here, but pauses. Tomorrow, questions will arise again. Tomorrow, curiosity will flicker in new ways. Tonight, it is enough to know that wonder itself has weight and warmth. Your shoulders fall fully. Your hands relax. Your chest rises and falls with calm inevitability. The darkness, the stars, the flame, they merge into one gentle continuum. Motion and rest coexist. Light and thought settle together. You feel the room of your mind expand, generous and quiet. Everything that has happened during this imagined voyage remains intact. The lessons of restraint, patience, and care carry forward without pressure. The flame, small and steady, rests among stars that neither judge nor compete. Its light continues regardless of attention, proof that existence alone can be meaningful. You breathe in slowly, deeply. You breathe out longer, releasing the last bits of tension. You feel ready to rest. Somewhere ahead, dreams may move like subtle trails of light, carrying fragments of this calm forward. You do not need to chase them. They come naturally. The flame remains. The stars remain. You remain, gently suspended in their quiet presence. And as sleep draws near, you feel the soft cosmic night enfolding you, carrying all that you have imagined into rest. Your last conscious inhale is slow. Your last exhale even slower. And the flame, ever patient, continues quietly among the stars, a gentle witness to the universe's calm, as you drift fully, gently, into rest.